Fuller, Gaines, Hancock, Harmon, Hernandez, Huff, Kehoe, LaMalfa, Leno, Ted Lieu, Carol Liu, Lowenthal, Negrete McLeod, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Rubio, Runner, Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Vargas, Walters, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee.
Call the absent members. On the rail and in the gallery, please rise. We'll be led in prayer this afternoon by our guest chaplain, the Reverend Constantine Papademos, after which please remain standing. We'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Senator Emerson. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Let us pray. Lord, society teaches us that it is important to have a healthy self-image. What can happen, however, is that a healthy self-image can turn into a sense of self-importance and self-centeredness. But as long as we think of turning to you during the day, no matter what we may be doing, our heart can be filled with humility, and our self-image can be strengthened by your power and grace. Fill our minds, Lord, with thoughts of you today, and bless us in your goodness. Amen.
Okay, members, we have an action-packed afternoon planned for you today. With your cooperation, we will get through it. Privileges of the floor. Senator Walk, are you ready? Okay, we'll wait. Any other privileges of the floor? Okay. We'll move on, members. Messages from the governor will be deemed read. Messages from the assembly will be deemed read. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments adopted. Under motions, resolutions, and notices, floor amendments, Madam Secretary will provide. There are floor amendments at the desk. They will be deemed adopted. Okay, introductions and first reading of bills. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 977 by Senator Yee, Senate Bill 978 by Senator Vargas, Senate Bill 979 by Senator Vargas, Senate Bill 980 by Senator Vargas, Senate Bill 981 by Senator Yee.
First reading of bills deemed read. I'll recognize Senator Walk.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Senator Evans, I would like to
Senator.
welcome.
Members, please, your attention. Continue, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. On behalf of Senator Evans, and I'd like to welcome members and guests of Aldea's Children's Art Therapy Program Aldea is a nonprofit mental health organization that serves children in Napa and Solano counties and has a long-standing tradition in the legislature. Every year for the last 13, the art therapy engagement calendars have been given to members of the Senate and the Assembly to exemplify their heartfelt expression through art. These calendars, produced entirely by the children of Aldea, look up in the gallery, showcase the meaningful expressions of children involved in art therapy as a means of dealing with a variety of emotional issues when words are not quite enough to express what children feel. This year, the calendar was the gold medal winner in the National Calendar Awards for the best nonprofit calendar in America. And I want to acknowledge the director of the art program, Al Friedman, and some of the gifted students who participated in this extraordinary program. Your pieces of art are masterpieces, and thank you very much for coming to the legislature. We congratulate you. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Walk. Let's congratulate our visitors. The calendar is an extraordinary document done by some very creative youngsters. We appreciate your creativity and your work. Senator Correa, for what purpose do you rise?
Under motions and resolutions,
Without objection.
I'd like to pull Senate Bill 807 off the inactive file.
Without objection.
Thank you.
So moved. So pulled. Second reading file. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 592, 31, 114, 122, 210, 259, 289, 352, 359, 455, 654, 677, 690, 764, 789, 803, 878, Senate Bill 135 with amendments, and Senate Bill 810 with amendments.
Okay, second reading file has been accomplished. Governor's appointments. Item 80. Senator Steinberg is down on the floor. Senator Liu, what purpose do you rise?
Under motions and resolutions.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today begins Lunar New Year of the water dragon. The dragon is a mystical creature in Chinese culture, and this year is expected to bring prosperity and transformational change. This is the most traditional Chinese holiday, and this centuries and old tradition is celebrated in China, Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Vietnam, and in Chinatowns around the globe, including the 21st Senate District. And I wish all of my colleagues a happy Chinese New Year's. Gong Hei Fa Choi.
Thank you, Senator. Senator De Leon, what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to join my colleague, Senator Carol Liu, in solidarity. Gong Kai Fat Choi. I have the honor and the distinction to co-represent Chinatown in the city of Los Angeles with my good colleague, Senator Carol Liu. In addition to that, it is also the Lunar New Year for Korean Americans as well. I also have the distinct honor to represent Koreatown in the city of Los Angeles. It's a very rich mosaic tapestry of Asian American cultures. This is, as Senator Carol Liu just articulated, the year of the dragon. This upcoming Sunday in Los Angeles, we will have the 113th annual Golden Dragon Parade, which will be held in both of our districts together. And to all our colleagues, Gong Hai Fat Choi. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Carol Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Correa. Senator Correa.
Mr. President, Sinkin Chowquivi, Chukmuna Moy. I'd like to also join my colleagues in wishing everybody a happy New Year, Lunar New Year. Little Saigon, that I'm proud to represent in my district, also celebrated New Year's last night. I'm sure a lot of you were watching that up at midnight. All the firecrackers and the fire dances, fire dragons. Want to invite all of you to my district for this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, for the festivities in the city of Garden Grove.
Thank you, Senator Correa. Senator Leno, what purpose do you rise?
Under privileges of the floor. Thank you. Want to get in on the action here in that we celebrated the Lunar New Year of the Vietnamese at the Tet Festival in San Francisco with Little Saigon and the Tenderloin just last week. This Saturday, we'll be having one of the largest celebrations of the Chinese New Year in San Francisco with a big parade and, of course, the oldest Chinatown in California being in San Francisco. Gong Hei Fat Choi Tim Ding.
All right. We're going to return to a second reading file. Senate third reading. Item 87. Senator DeSaulnier. Pass. Item 88. Senator De Leon. Item 88. Pass on file. Item 89. Senator Hancock. Not at her desk. Item 90. Senator Liu. Senator Ted Lieu. Pass. Okay. Item 91. To be amendment. Item 92. Senator Steinberg. Item 92. Item 92. You will. You have. Item 93, Senator Yee. Not at his desk. Item 94, Senator Pavley. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 255 by Senator Pavley, an act linked to health care coverage.
Yes, good morning, or good afternoon, members. Thank you very much. SB 255 is out of the Senate Health Committee, chaired by Senator Hernandez, and passed appropriations before you here today. This is an important issue. As you know, and I don't need to tell you, breast cancer really is an epidemic. 1 out of every 8 women will get this disease sometime in their life. They'll probably have to have a mastectomy or partial mastectomy or a lumpectomy. This bill is just a clarifying bill, in my opinion, on terminology in a statute that's been around for 14 years. Most people could easily understand that a mastectomy is the removal of a breast, and a partial mastectomy is a partial removal of a breast. This bill clarifies that lumpectomies are a partial, just like a partial mastectomy, in that they're a partial removal of the breast. This is a clarification of existing law. We ought to be very clear what the law covers. It's certainly consistent with what doctors and patients feel should be covered. It is not a mandate. It is just a clarification of what already is in existing law. It's a common medical term now, lumpectomy, which is essentially a partial mastectomy. What happens sometimes, however, in lumpectomies, that patients will often need to have additional care. There can be some complications, lymph nodes being removed and other problems like that, excessive bleeding, drainage problems, anesthesia reactions, staph infections, and the list goes on. This bill would allow physician and patient to determine after surgery if hospital stay is needed or required because of complications. This bill is sponsored by the Susan B. Komen Foundation and has a long list of supporters, including CMA and the California Teachers Association, the Junior League of California, Planned Parenthood, and the list goes on. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Pavley. Any debate or discussion? Any debate or discussion? Senator Blakesley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of this piece of legislation. I think it's very important in terms of the doctor-patient relationship to ensure that that the needs of the patient are respected and taken care of properly. And it's a simple measure that clarifies the definition of mastectomy, given the real changes in technology that have occurred, which have blurred the distinctions that existed historically and at a previous time. I'd urge an aye vote.
Any further debate or discussion? Senator Pavley, would you care to close?
Ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Harmon. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price.
Aye.
Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee.
Call the absentees.
Berryhill. Aye. Canella. Evans. Hancock. LaMalfa. Runner. Steinberg. Aye. Wyland. Yee.
Ayes 27, no 6. That measure is adopted. Item 95. Senator Ted Lieu. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 691 by Senator Ted Lieu, enacting to unemployment insurance.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senators. This bill is a straightforward approach to assist the Contractor State License Board with workers' compensation fraud investigations. As the licensee of many high-risk occupations, the Contractor State License Board is on the front lines of the fight against workers' compensation insurance fraud in the underground economy. In order to be licensed, all contractors must provide a certificate of workers' compensation insurance or attest under penalty of perjury that they have no employees. However, the CSLB lacks statutorily guaranteed access to the Employment Development Department's databases to compare the number of employees being reported to EDD against the number of employees reported to CSLB. Such access would greatly assist CSLB in their investigation of possible workers' comp fraud. This bill is supported by the Contractor State License Board, AFSCME, and the SPA and Pool Industry Education Council. It is unopposed and respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further debate or discussion? Any debate or discussion? Senator Lieu, you may close.
Respectfully request an aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Harmon. Aye. Hernandez. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price.
Aye.
Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee.
Call the absent members.
Canella. Evans. Hancock. Hernandez. Aye. LaMalfa. Runner. Wyland. Yee.
Ayes 33, no 0. That bill passes. Okay. Item 96. Senator Lieu. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 912 by Senator Ted Lieu, an act relating to employment.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. This bill seeks to hold local workforce investment boards accountable for their spending on job training by improving the accuracy of their statistical information the state gathers in that spending. In 2008, the legislature passed SB 302, requiring EDD to annually report the job training expenditures of local workforce investment boards. However, while these reports must be generated every year, the workforce investment boards only the dollars to them are only allocated every 2 years. This presents a confusing circumstance for these reports. Thus, gathering complete and accurate information on how local WIBs were spending money on job training has been difficult. This bill simply changes the time frame for which the EDD must report local WIB training expenditures to better align with the schedule in which these local WIBs receive their funding from the federal government. There's no opposition. Respect request, and I vote.
Thank you. Any debate or discussion, members? Any debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? There is no objection. Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Berryhill. Blakesley. Calderon. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Emerson. Evans. Fuller. Gaines. Hancock. Harmon. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price.
Aye.
Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Vargas. Strickland, no. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye. Anderson, no.
Secretary, call the absent members.
Berryhill. Blakesley. No. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Dutton. No. Emerson. No. Evans. Fuller. No. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. No. Huff. No. LaMalfa. Runner. Wyland. Berryhill, no.
Ayes 25, noes 10. That bill passes. Item 97, Senator Hernandez. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 920 by Senator Hernandez, enacting to Medi-Cal.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. This bill makes a number of non-controversial technical or cleanup changes to my SB 335 of last year, which enacted a quality assurance fee on hospitals. These changes would align the sunset and inoperative dates in the bill, would clarify drafting provisions, and eliminated redundant statutory references. There's no opposition to the measure, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Any debate or discussion, members? Any debate or discussion? Seeing none. Senator Hernandez, would you care to close? Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Emerson. Aye. Evans. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price.
Aye.
Aye. Rubio. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Vargas. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee. Yee, aye. Strickland, aye.
Any objection, members, of using the previous unanimous roll call? Call the absentees. All right, let's call the absentees.
Blakesley. Canella. Evans. LaMalfa. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Wyland.
Ayes 34, no 0. That measure, the bill is passed. Item 98, Senator Huff. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 633 by Senator Huff, an act relating to bonds.
Thank you, Mr. President. SB 633 ensures that voter-approved California general obligation bonds are spent on the actual projects that voters approved. This bill gives the California Department of Finance the authority to issue a corrective action plan if an audit uncovers that bond funds have been misspent by a state entity or agency. SB 633 also enables the DOF to issue cease and desist orders on the allocation of bond funds until the corrective action plan has been implemented. This bill brings accountability to the use of bond funds and was introduced following a report from the Little Hoover Commission that uncovered several examples of waste and abuse of bond funds. SB 633 passed out of Senate Governance and Finance Committee unanimously and now includes Senator Wolk as a co-author. I request an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further debate or discussion? Any debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 34, ayes 35, noes 0. The bill passes. Item 99 is not eligible. Item 100, Senator Kehoe. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 1 by Senator Kehoe, an act relating to the State Racetrack Leasing Commission.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill removes the sunset date on the State Racetrack Leasing Commission that's set to expire January 1 of 2013. The six-member commission is unique to the racetrack operations at Del Mar in my district, and it is the Racetrack Leasing Commission is specifically cited in bond documents that fund the capital improvements at the track. Revenues from the track pay the debt service on more than $50 million in public improvements there. Agreement for the bonds requires the commission to remain in existence until 2025. That's why this bill is necessary. It left Senate Government Organization on a 10-0 vote from the consent calendar, and I ask for your aye vote today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debate or discussion? Any debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 35, no 0. The bill passes. Item 101, Senator Wolk. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 345 by Senator Wolk, an act linked to public social services.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. SB 345 will strengthen the state ombudsman that is currently located in the Department of Aging, who currently has, at least in statute, the ability to advocate on behalf of long-term care residents' rights, safety, welfare, and maintain an independent voice at the state level. And most of the provisions in this law that I'm putting forward clarify existing state and federal law. This is an office that is supported by the federal funding. What's happened is that the Senate Office of Oversight and Outcomes and the Senate Office of Research have done studies in depth of this ombudsman program, and they've issued reports that have demonstrated that the office truly is not being effectively an advocate for residents. The local ombudsmen have put together an organization, have come forward and to advocate for these changes, and I am supportive and ask for your support. Both of the reports that were done outline several recommendations. We've incorporated some of the recommendations into the bill, aligning state law with federal law to ensure that the ombudsman can advocate independently and develop a comprehensive plan of advocacy with measurable outcomes. We are building more efficiency into the office, and the ultimate goal is to assure that the state ombudsman can advocate freely on behalf of facility residents that often do not have a voice. Just to give you an example, in the statute, the ombudsman is supposed to create an advisory committee. Well, it's been many years, more than 10, in which that has never been done. So in our law, in our bill, we say by a certain date, that advocacy council should be empowered. That's the kind of thing that we are putting into this bill. We're working with the governor's office and other stakeholders as the legislation moves forward. We are working with the Commission on Aging to meet their concerns, and I want to respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Any debate or discussion? Senator Alquist.
Thank you, Mr. President. The reason I'm rising on this bill, we heard it in Senate Health Committee, and the state ombudsman testified against the bill. When I realized that the senior population is growing 5 times faster than the working age group and 3 times faster than college and university students, I think we need some real accountability and also to allow the flexibility for the state ombudsman to really advocate on behalf of seniors. This bill does three common sense things. It aligns federal and state law. It requires the ombudsman to show a report with measurable outcomes and to beef up the existing website, which is just a little over 1 page compared to 30 pages in some states. And seniors look to that website for really good information. So I ask for your aye vote.
Any further debate or discussion? Senator Yee.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I was in committee when we heard this particular bill, and clearly I think that there are still some differences of opinion, and my understanding is that those understandings or misunderstandings are going to be clarified in the Assembly. It will come back to us, and we'll have a chance to then finally make a vote. I would be supportive of it because I think it's important to continue the discussion and try to bring the different parties together. So I want to say that I am supportive of this, but let's then see what the amendments are, and hopefully we can resolve those differences when it comes back.
Any further debate or discussion? Senator Wolk, you may close.
I ask for your aye vote, and I do commit to the senator and to all of you that those issues that have been raised, despite the incredible support that this bill has, are worthy of being addressed, and we shall do that and work with both the governor's office and the state ombudsman to address some of these concerns. Thank you. I ask for your aye vote.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist. Aye. Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Blakesley. Calderon. Aye. Canella. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. De Leon. Aye. DeSaulnier. Aye. Dutton. No. Emerson. No. Evans. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. No. Hernandez. Aye. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. LaMalfa. Leno. Aye. Ted Lieu. Aye. Carol Lieu. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price.
Aye.
Aye. Rubio. Aye. Runner. Semidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. Aye. Vargas. Aye. Walters. No. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. Yee. Yee. Aye. Blakesley. Aye.
Ayes 26, noes 9. The bill passes. Item 102, Senator Walk. 102, 103, Senator DeSaulnier. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senate Bill 447 by Senator DeSaulnier and Ackling to Housing.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is a result of an investigation by the Senate Office of Outcomes and Oversight. The California Housing Finance Authority was foreclosing on people who they oversaw their mortgages because they were renting out the facilities. We still want them to have the ability to do that if people are speculating, but in this instance we want to create a little bit of flexibility because a lot of people were current on their mortgages, were trying to struggle and meet their commitments, but were unable to do. So this bill allows for that flexibility. It says that people can continue to be the mortgagee and rent the property out as long as it's only 4% of the total amount of mortgages, as long as they are current on their mortgage, and as long as Cal HFA determines that they have moved out and rented it because of external pressures in their lives, like losing their jobs. This is consistent with what several states have already done because of the economic environment. It has had no votes, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Any debate or discussion, members? Any debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Okay. Seeing none, ayes 35, noes 0. The bill passes. Item 104, Senator Hernandez. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 625 by Senator Hernandez, an act relating to agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this bill makes changes to the nursery license program to address the issue of invasive pests, which costs our state agricultural business over $3 billion a year. This bill's most significant changes make the minimum standards of cleanliness mandatory to prevent the potential spread of these pests. This bill has received unanimous bipartisan support in both committee and has no opposition. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Okay, members, any debate or discussion? Any further debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 35, noes 0. The bill is passed. Item 105, Senator Liu. Will pass. Item 106, Senator Corbett. Senator Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 708 by Senator Corbett, an act relating to mortgages.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is Senate Bill 708, which has been introduced to extend the sunset of Senate Bill 1137. Members, you may remember this bill. It was introduced at the height of the beginning of the foreclosure crisis back in 2007 and was passed by this legislature and signed by the governor in 2008. This bill at that time was an urgency measure because the legislature was concerned about encouraging loan modifications in order to prevent avoidable foreclosures. Senate Bill 1137 is sunsetting in 2013, but it has required that lenders or loan servicers contact borrowers prior to issuing a notice of default in order to try to determine whether there is an option to avoid foreclosure. The bill also included provisions to empower local governments to protect residents from blight caused by foreclosed properties and to enhance protections for tenants of foreclosed properties. Sadly, members, we have not come out of the foreclosure crisis as of yet. We were hoping back at that time that we might see an end to that by the time of the sunset of this bill. But unfortunately, across the state, housing values have continued to plummet. And in fact, in November 2011, one of every 211 housing units received a foreclosure filing, and that number reflects over 63,000 properties. Unfortunately, California's high unemployment rate has caused defaults and foreclosures to spread to all types of loans and all types of borrowers. So, members, I ask you to support this measure that I was a joint author of with Senator Parada and Senator Machado a few years back, and ask you that we extend the sunset so that we can make sure we continue to respond to this foreclosure crisis. I thank members on both sides of the aisle who have supported this measure as it has passed through the Banking and Judiciary Committees. And we also have the support of the Western Center on Law and Poverty, the California Labor Federation, and the League of California Cities. I ask of you for your aye vote on this very important and timely measure.
Thank you. Any further debate or discussion? Any objection with the Secretary calling the roll?
Alquist? Aye. Anderson? No. Berryhill? Aye. Blakesley? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Canella? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. De Leon? Aye. DeSaulnier? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Emerson? Aye. Evans? Fuller? Aye. Gaines? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Herman? Aye. Hernandez? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. LaMalfa? Leno? Aye. Ted Lieu? Aye. Carol Liu? Aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price?
Aye.
Aye. Rubio? Aye. Runner? Semidian? Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Aye. Vargas? Aye. Walters? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Cannella, Evans, Lamalfa, Runner, Semidian, Walters, Wyland.
Okay, ayes 32, noes 1. The bill passes. Item 107, Senator Lowenthal. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 721 by Senator Lowenthal, enacting to post-secondary education.
Thank you, Mr. President. SB 721 takes the first steps towards establishing greater clarity and accountability for our post-secondary educational system's performance in meeting the needs of our state. The bill does three important things. One, it articulates specific statewide goals for post-secondary education in California. It creates a workshop to be convened by the Legislative Analyst's Office to develop the specific metrics for measuring progress towards these goals, and it creates an annual reporting process on our progress towards these goals as part of the annual budget process. California has been slow to move in this direction, but this is not a new concept. The Senate and the legislature have been developing and supporting proposals to create greater accountability for higher education since 2002. The first bill was done by Senator Alpert. This bill is really the latest iteration, and I think it really reflects the latest evolution of these efforts. Provisions are consistent with national efforts, with our own master plan review recommendations, and with the recent recommendations of the LAO. It's been supported unanimously in both the Policy and the Appropriations Committee, and the public segment of higher education support the bill, and we're working to assist us as we move this bill forward. And I also have made a commitment to taking into account the input that was brought up in the Policy Committee to be addressed as this bill moves forward. I ask for your aye vote.
Any further debate or discussion, members? Any further debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 35, noes 0. The bill passes. Item 108, Senator Steinberg. 108. File item 109, Senator Padilla. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 778 by Senator Padilla, enacting to alcoholic beverages.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, SB 778 would simply permit the use of consumer marketing contests within California by authorized licensees of the California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control. The same brand building tools and contests that are allowed for residents of 49 other states in the nation, and the same types of contests and tools that were allowed in California prior to 1997. In 1997, the ABC cracked down on what they believed were consumer marketing contests that were direct inducements to purchase and consume alcohol. The way this bill is crafted directly addresses those concerns through a series of conditions and restrictions on the type of contests that would be allowed under this legislation, including prohibiting the awarding of alcoholic beverages as a prize, the requirement to purchase or consume alcohol to be eligible or to increase your chances, including limitations on obligating a wholesaler or distributor to contribute costs of any contest, product placement, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a narrow bill that could help California industry and California residents by allowing them to participate. I ask for your aye vote.
Any further debate or discussion, members? Any further debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 35, noes 0. The bill passes. Item 110, Senator Kehoe. Okay. Senator Steinberg, for what purpose do you rise, sir?
May I please go back to file item 108?
File item 108. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 749 by Senator Steinberg, enacting to transportation.
This bill merely establishes, members, a uniform statutory process for the CTC, the Transportation Commission, to follow when adopting transportation program guidelines. This bill passed the Policy and Fiscal Committee without a no vote. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Any further debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 35, no 0. The bill passes. We'll go back to the file, item 93. Senator Yee. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 118 by Senator Yee, enacting to state government.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This bill is a pretty straightforward. At the end of fiscal year 2010-11, the State Treasurer's Office notified the State Controller that it was no longer willing to sign an interagency agreement to reimburse the Controller's Office for work done on revenue bonds. And so what this bill will do is to then take care of the unwillingness on the part of the State Treasurer to do this. This is a normal process. Currently, State Controller gets reimbursement on revenue bond, but not or on the GO bond, but not revenue bond, and this will take care and put everything in the same trail. With that, urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Any further debate or discussion? Any further debate or discussion? Secretary, please call the roll.
Alquist, aye. Anderson, Berryhill, aye. Blakesley, aye. Calderon, aye. Cannella, Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. De Leon, aye. DeSaulnier, aye. Dutton, aye. Emerson, aye. Evans, Fuller, aye. Gaines, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hernandez, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. LaMalfa, Leno, aye. Ted Lieu, aye. Carolou, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price,
aye.
Aye. Rubio, aye. Runner, Semidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Vargas, aye. Walters, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, Yee. Yee, aye.
Call the absent members.
Anderson, aye. Cannella, Evans, LaMalfa, Runner, Wyland.
Okay, ayes 35, no 0. The bill passes. Members, any further business under Senate third reading? Third reading. If not, we'll go back to governor's appointments. Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. File items 80 and 81, I know we're going to take one at a time, are the confirmations for the Public Utilities Commission. And item 80 is Michael Florio. The Rules Committee approved Mr. Florio last Wednesday on a bipartisan vote of 5-0. And, you know, I know it sounds a little funny to say I hope you all watched the hearing, but I actually do hope some of you watched the hearing because it was very informative about the important, crucial role that the PUC plays in the lives of everyday Californians. And we're fortunate with Mike Florio, as well as the next nominee, to have somebody who really devotes themselves to studying the issues, to making reasoned judgments, and to being fair to all parties. I'd urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Senator Blakesley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, would like to rise and encourage a strong vote of support for Mr. Florio. He's a man enormous knowledge, integrity, insight into this very complex arena, and someone who's acquitted himself quite well for many years advocating for lower rates for ratepayers. I think he's a person that we can support enthusiastically, and I'd urge an aye vote.
Any further debate or discussion, members? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call?
I'm never making up for that. There's no making
Seeing no objection, ayes 35, no 0. The governor's appointment is confirmed. File item 81, Senator Steinberg.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is the confirmation of Catherine Sandoval. Like Mr. Florio, I think Ms. Sandoval impressed the entire committee and the public with her acumen, with the depth of her knowledge, with her intellect, and with her commitment to public service. And I might say as well, for both Ms. Sandoval and Mr. Florio, the breadth of support from business, labor, from environmental groups, from consumer groups. These are two intelligent, well-respected people. Ms. Sandoval is more than worthy of confirmation. Urge an aye vote.
Any debate or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. President, I also want to join our Senate Pro Tem Gerald Steinberg in a resounding affirmative support for Ms. Catherine Sandoval. I'd like to just take a quick second to boast a little bit about Catherine Sandoval, because she is a product of the 22nd Senatorial District, born and raised in Los Angeles and raised in Boyle Heights, right in the heart of East Los Angeles. As Senate Pro Tem Steinberg just articulated, her academic acumen is quite impressive. She is a graduate from Yale University. She's a Rhodes Scholar from Oxford University, as well as a graduate of law school from Stanford University Law School. She is, by the way, colleagues, the first Latina in the history of the Rhodes Scholarship Program to ever be nominated to be a Rhodes Scholar. And with this confirmation, and hopefully a bipartisan confirmation, she will be the first Latina in the 100-year history of the Public Utilities Commission, which is quite a feat. I know she's a professor at Santa Clara University, Ms. Elaine Alquist's district, and also her current constituent, so we have that connection together. But I just want to give a resounding support for Ms. Catherine Sandoval. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Alquist.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a member of Rules Committee, I was most impressed with the meaty discussion we had in Rules Committee for both Mr. Sandoval, for both Mr. Florio and Ms. Sandoval. For Ms. Sandoval in particular, I would like to say she had a great intellectual grasp of the problems facing the Commission and the state, and given her background and growing up in a situation where she really understood the value of a dollar and the impact of what today would be higher rates on any individual or family, I rise in strong support of her nomination. I would also like to say she has shown great intellectual insight in choosing to be a law professor in my district at Santa Clara University. Thank you.
Any further debate or discussion? Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 35, no 0. The appointment is confirmed. Okay. Consent calendar, item 113 on the consent calendar. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 901 by Senator Steinberg, enacting to air pollution.
Any objection with using the previous unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 35, no 0. The measure passes. Okay. Members, Senator Strickland, for what purpose?
If it's appropriate, adjourn in memory?
Yes, it is appropriate.
All right.
You may.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, it's with sadness that I announce adjourn in memory for former Santa Clarita Mayor, Councilman Clyde Smythe. You might recognize the last name. That's the father of Assemblyman Cameron Smythe. Former Santa Clarita Councilman Clyde Smythe died following a massive stroke. He was 80 years old. Smythe served as superintendent of the William S. Hart Union High School District for 18 years, on the Santa Clarita City Council from 1994 to 1998. During 1997, he served as its mayor. A veteran of the Korean War, he served in the United States Army until health concerns forced him to stand down about 4 years ago. Smythe was director of the local military service academy appointments. Clyde Smythe was father of 2 sons, Colin and Cameron, as well as a grandfather of 5. In addition to his work in the school district and city council, Smythe was active in the community, including Santa Clarita Valley Rotary Club and the Boy Scouts of America, as well as the Henry Mayo Newhall Memorial Hospital. Members, I knew Clyde Smythe. He was just a tremendous individual, very involved in the community. He's a model citizen, and my wife and I's thoughts and prayers go with Cam Smythe and the rest of the Smythe family. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Strickland. Are these other microphones on Mr. Smythe's passing? All right, seeing none, then Senator Padilla.
Madam President, a request to remove AB 1073 from the inactive file for purpose of amendments. AB 1073.
Without objection, Senator Price.
Motion.
And we are under motions and resolutions. You want to adjourn in memory?
Yes, adjourn in memory. Today I rise to adjourn in memory of Mrs. Myrtle A. Davis, the mother of our colleague, Assemblymember Mike Davis. Ms. Davis, a retired educator, passed away on January the 18th, 2012 in Charlotte, North Carolina. A graduate of Johnson C. Smith University, she received her master's at North Carolina A&T University. As an educator, she was heralded by the Charlotte Observer for her unique approach to communicating with children. Ms. Davis captured her students' imagination by hand illustrating the animal anatomy that they were learning about during their lecture. Ever present in her community, Ms. Davis was honored as Teacher of the Year at the Charlotte Mecklenburg School System. Please join me in extending our heartfelt sympathies to Assemblymember Davis and his family.
Thank you, Senator Price. And the desk has the name. The desk does not have the name. When you have a moment, and we extend the Senate's condolences to the family, as we do in the case of the Smythe family as well. Thank you to you both. Senator Berryhill, for what purpose?
Yeah, for recognition, Madam President.
Introduction, Senator?
Yes.
Without objection.
Members, I'd like to bring your attention. We have some folks from Stanislaus County here with us today up in the gallery. They're here working today and tomorrow, working on local issues and local government issues here in the Capitol. I'd like to give everybody in Stanislaus County a warm Senate welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. We welcome you to our chambers very much. Senator Alquist.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under motions and resolutions.
Yes.
For the last 13 plus years, I've had the honor of representing the city of Santa Clara, and in that fashion, the training facility for the 49ers, and the training facility has been in Santa Clara for, I think, about 30 years. We know what happened yesterday. I'm not the greatest expert on football. I know defense, go-by-go, and touchdown. What I would like to say is to commend Jed York and the 49ers for a great season. And when I think about how far they've come over the last couple of years, the growth, the teamwork, I want to say that to them, we're really proud of you, and we certainly look forward to the future with great pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Alquist. Senator Lowenthal, what purpose do you rise?
To adjourn in the memory. With great sadness, I would like to adjourn in the memory of a very close friend of mine. I was thinking about it, just almost a sister. For 35 years, I've known Roberta Fassler-Katz. I knew her back in Long Beach when she set up the Women's Center. She had a marriage and family counseling degree. She came to Sacramento over the last 20 years, and she and her husband and her kids, Roberta became one of the lead mediators for the courts, for the Superior Court in the family court. She was the one that when there were custody battles that the courts called on Roberta to figure out what was going on. She had she was a professor at National University. She was had her own private practice in family marital counseling. She was very active in the community. Last night there was a beautiful service for her. She died this past Wednesday in a very brief illness. Very sad to this community at B'nai Israel. Rabbi Beisel, Rabbi Mona Alfie, and Cantor Steinberg did a beautiful, beautiful service for her. A wonderful, menschy human being that gave and gave to everybody in the community. There will be a Shiva Minyan tonight and tomorrow night at the home. Her husband is Norman Fassler-Katz, who is part of our Senate family. He is the chief consultant on the Select Committee on Goods Movement. There were many members of the Senate family that were there at the services yesterday. As I say, there'll be a Shiva Minyan at the home tonight and tomorrow night. We've lost a great warrior, a great person in Roberta, and that's at 4791 American River Drive tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. If you will please bring the name to the desk so that we may properly memorialize a great Californian. Senator DeSaulnier, for the purpose you rise.
Adjourn in memory, Mr. President.
You may.
Mr. President, I rise to adjourn in memory of Hewlett Hornbeck, a person who lived in Martinez for 55 years. He died at 92. He was the procurement director for the East Bay Regional Park District. In that capacity, he added 45,000 acres to what is the largest regional park district in the United States. He was one of the greatest generation. He was in the Army Air Corps and the Army Air Force. He was a bombardier navigator on a flight that he identified the Japanese fleet just prior to the Battle of the Coral Sea, which, if you know American history and the Pacific battles, that was a key turning point. And as such, he used to frequently say that always remember that clouds are amongst your best friends, because in his duty defending this country, that's what they would say as navigators in those days. He was really a delightful human being, a great member of the East Bay. One interesting part of his life, when he was 48, he was diagnosed with cancer and told he only had 5 years to live. He was a lawyer, and at that point, he changed careers and went to work for the East Bay Regional Park District. He's survived by many sons and daughters and granddaughters and grandsons, and I would ask that the Senate adjourn in his memory.
Thank you. Any further business? Any other motions, resolutions? Seeing none, Senator Steinberg, the desk is clear.
Thank you. Mr. President, session will resume at 9 o'clock on Thursday. As you know, we have a deadline to get second-year bills out of the House of Origin by the end of next week. It's not a overwhelming workload, but we'll work Thursday for a couple hours, and we'll work steadily next week, and we'll get that workload done. Thank you.
Thank you, members. The Senate will be in recess until 3:30, at which time the adjournment motion will be made. We will reconvene Thursday at 9 a.m. Meeting is adjourned.